Hi, cutie pies. I am Lanikia, and you are watching What Happened on the Soaps. This is Days of Our Lives edition. Today is Wednesday, November the 15th, 2023. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Nicole a 10 because she really did a wonderful job on this episode. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. We see Sloan and Eric talking, and he is elated because they finally are getting the baby that they've been dreaming of. She tells him, and praying for. She tells him that the baby was born that night. It was the baby's a little small but healthy, and as soon as Melinda takes care of all the paperwork and they get everything taken care of, they will have their baby boy in their arms. And of course, Eric is ecstatic. He's like, "I need to go get a car seat. I need to all the stuff I've been buying. I need to go ahead and take care of it." Like he cannot believe their good luck as far as one minute they're like, oh, the adoption process might take a while, and then the next minute it's like, okay, well, you have a baby, you have a baby now. And so he then tells her, oh, isn't it crazy how our baby and Nicole's baby was born on the same night? And Sloan is like, what? Nicole had her baby. I said, girl, you playing this part. And so then he tells her everything that went down and how Demetrius took the baby to the hospital and Nicole was on the way to the hospital. So they should be reuniting with the baby now. And she was like, oh, that's so wonderful. And gosh, is Nicole okay? The baby okay? That has to be scary. But then she flashes back to when Dimitri was talking to her and he was telling her about that being Nicole's baby and everything, right? And so he was like, "Yeah, I don't know, but I need to go do a lot of stuff." So she gets a phone call in the middle of them talking, and she's like, "Hello," and it's Dimitri, and she tells him, "I'm sorry, I have to take this call," and he was like, "No problems. I need to go speak to my mom and tell her the good news, anyways." So Eric goes to Marlena's and he tells her all about the baby, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, are you serious?" Because everyone knows how much Eric has been wanting a child. So of course she's ecstatic for him. And then he tells her about Nicole, and she's like, "Oh wow, I hope everything works out with Nicole and the baby." And everything, right? And I'm not going to hold you long on this, but he ends up getting a phone call from Holly, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, Holly, I'm so sorry." And Marlena's like, "What? What happened?" And that's it, y'all. That's all we saw with him. So then we go over here to Sloan taking this phone call with Dimitri and him just telling her that he needs. She was like, "Why are you calling me?" I said, "Girl, you got much attitude." And she said, he tells her, "I'm calling because Leo needs help. He's been arrested." And she said, "There's nothing I can do for you." He says, "Well, Leo wants me to leave town, but I can't leave town unless I know somebody's taking care of him and he'll get off on these charges." And so Sloan is like, well, I'm going to take care of Leo because you need to leave town, leave Salem, and don't come back. And then I'm going to take care of Leo, get him acquitted, and then he can join you, and you guys never return to Salem again. I said, I know you do want that to happen. So she going to take care of it, y'all. So then we see that Dimitri is talking to Rolf because he wants Rolf to wait a little bit because he's trying to figure out a plan to get Leo out. And Rolf said, "I can't wait. Like, we have to go and we have to go now." And so he's like, "Okay, I'm on my way." And so he tells Leo, "Goodbye, Leo. I love you." And that's the end of the Dimitri character, I guess. I said, "What? Y'all did all that?" Child, I don't know what's about to happen. So Demetrius out of town, and he didn't mention anything to Nicole about the baby because, I mean, excuse me, Sloan about the baby because he really thinks Sloan and Melinda turned the baby in to the hospital to get checked up and was giving the baby back to Nicole and EJ. So he doesn't say anything about the baby, and now he's out of town and he's the only person that knows he gave the baby to Melinda and Sloan. A mess. Let's move on, child. So then we go over here and we see Johnny and what's his baby name? Holly. So we see Johnny and Holly, and he comes in and he's like, she's trying to light up a joint. And he comes in And he's like, Holly, and she's like, oh, I didn't see you. And he said, I just saw Tate leave, and he seemed upset. She said he tried to make the we got into a fight because he tried to make the moves on me when my mama is missing. He said, wait a minute, Nicole is missing. She said yes, and she was like, I told EJ. She tells him the story about EJ and Eric and how they find out her location, and she says, I haven't heard back, so maybe I should call them. And then she looks at her phone and she sees a message from Eric telling her then Nicole had the baby, and so they're taking her to the hospital. And she's like, "Let's go!" Like Johnny's like, "Let's go. We'll meet them there." So they leave the Mirror Mansion to go. Right. Um, I'm sorry. Before Dimitri leaves, he does end up telling Leo because he doesn't tell Leo at all about the baby because he's assuming that the baby is going to the hospital. So when they're talking, they don't mention the baby at all. All he talks about is trying to get Leo help, and he tells him, "I'm going to get you a lawyer," which of course he does. But that's it. So then we see Nicole and EJ at the hospital, and she's like, "EJ, where's the baby?" And he says, they've looked all around. I've asked the doctors." He said, but honestly, no one's seen Dimitri with the baby, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, he's a criminal and all of this." And he says, "Nicole, I don't think he would do anything to an innocent child. Like he is a lot of things, but I don't think he would do anything to an innocent child." And she says, "But Dimitri, I can't just. I mean, EJ, I can't just sit around and wait." And he says, "You know what? You're right. We've waited long enough. I'm gonna light a fire under Rafe." So he calls Rafe, and that's when the Rafe's assistant or someone tells him he's in the interrogation room with Leo Stark. So EJ tells Nicole this, and she's like, "I'm going." And he says, "No, stay here. It'll be easier for me to move around without you. You'll hold me back a little bit as far as my movement." So she was like, "Okay." He says, "I promise you, I'm going to bring our son back to your arms." So she leaves, right? He leaves, excuse me. And Rafe is in the interrogation room with Leo, trying to break Leo. And Leo says, "My man, my man, my man. I'm not telling you nothing about my man. My man is a ride or die, and I'm his ride or die too. So you're not getting any information out of me." So then EJ comes busting in, and he's like, "Where is he? Where's my son?" And um Leo is like, wait a minute now, what you talking about?" And he says, "Where's my son? Where's Dimitri with my son?" He said, "Dimitri was on the way with the hospital." And Rafe is like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Rafe, now we told you this yesterday. Leo told you this yesterday when he was bragging about delivering this baby. What are you talking about?" And so he says, "EJ, tell me what's going on." So then EJ tells them the whole story about how Nicole, about Nicole having a baby, how Nicole's at the hospital now, but they looking around. He's asking everybody at the hospital. No cameras, no video footage. No one's seen Dimitri drop the baby off. And so he's like, "Leo, where's the baby?" And Leo says, "I don't know. Dimitri was supposed to take the baby to the hospital, and I don't know where the baby is or Dimitri." But I'm sure he wouldn't hurt the baby. There's got to be some kind of misunderstanding. And they're like, "Leo, you have to tell us where Dimitri is so we can find this baby. Do you know?" And he says, "No, I don't know where Dimitri is. He was supposed to drop the baby off, and I stayed back with Nicole." So Leo really does not know, because if Dimitri had told Leo that he had dropped the baby off with Sloan and Melinda, Leo would have said that, because again, he didn't want anything to happen to this baby. So he was like, "I don't know. Like, I can't tell you where he is because I have no clue where Dimitri is or the baby. All I can tell you is what was supposed to happen." So then EJ was like, "If I find out you know where he is, or if anything happens to the baby, I'm coming for you," or whatever. So then and EJ, Rafe is trying to get EJ to leave, and he says, "I'm the DA. I have every right to question this man." And Sloan comes in and says, "Actually, get out. This is my client. I'm his representation, and y'all need to get out of here because I'm allowed to speak to my client in private." And so they're like, "You're representing this disgusting man?" And she said, "Yes, I am. So y'all can leave." So then EJ and Rafe end up leaving, and Leo's like, "Sloan, Dimitri sent you, and she said yes. And then he said, did he tell you anything about the baby? Because he was supposed to be taking that baby to the hospital. Of course, Sloan has a flashback of where Dimitri brought the baby to her, but she's like, Leo, he didn't tell me anything about the baby. She said, but I'm gonna get you out of this, and everything, so you don't even have to worry about it. So while she's talking, hold on, let me see how I did this. Yeah. She says, but yeah, she says, don't even worry about it. I'm going to get you out of this. So then we see um Holly and Juddy make it to the hospital with Nicole, right? So when they make it to the hospital with Nicole, they're like, Mom, and she's happy to see Holly because Nicole was going crazy. She was like, there's nothing on the news about Leo and Dimitri. And so, they come in and they distract her a little bit, and then they're like, okay, so where's the baby? Because she's happy to see Holly after everything she's went through. And so they're like, where's the baby? They said, she told them I had the baby, and they said, we know, Eric said it, where's the baby? And then she said, he's missing, we don't know where he is. So of course she has to go through the story with them. And Jenny was like, oh my gosh, how could the baby be missing or whatever, right? So then we go over here to Melinda. Now she's with the insurance man. I don't know if he a doctor, insurance, like what is he? But anyway, she goes over here to him, or he comes to her place, and she tells him, I need you to do a favor. He said, I came because you said it was for Sloan, and Sloan proved my innocence. She said, now sir, you know you was guilty. Sloan got you off on a technicality, so stop it. And he said, yeah, I mean, whatever. I'm off. So what do you want? And she says, well, I came here because you need to give up this. We need your help. Sloan needs your help. And he was like, what is it? And he was like, I don't want to do anything illegal. And she said, because it was color outside of the lines. He said, I'm not with that. And she said, but I bet these zeros on this check will make you say yes. And so he does say yes. And so he checks the baby. He was like, the baby is small, but the baby is really healthy. So he gives a clean bill of health. And so then she says, okay, good. Now I need you to do something else. And he was like, I thought you want this all you wanted me to do. I don't feel comfortable doing anything else. I really don't want to do anything illegal. And she said, well, you're in it now. So what I need you to do is let the mother know that the baby didn't make it. I said, well, where y'all gonna get a body? But she said, I need you to let the mother know that the baby didn't make it. And he was like, oh, I can't do that. He said, breaking news to the mother like that, I'm not gonna be able to do it because that's heartbreaking, and I can't give somebody that type of pain. And she said, but think about the parents that you would be helping get the child and everything. And she convinces this man to do it, so he says fine, he gonna do it. So then next thing we see, excuse me, EJ comes back to the hospital, and he's there with Nicole, Holly, and um, Johnny, and they're all talking and everything, right? And they're just like, she's like, what happened with the baby? I mean, with Leo. And Leo said he does, like, he has no clue. Dimitri was supposed to come to the hospital, and I looked around, and the hospital still says they don't know. So she's like, oh my gosh, EJ. And so then the doctor comes in, and he says, are you Nicole Walker? And she says yes. And he says, um, I have some information to give you. And she said, this is I'm Nicole, and he says it's about your baby. And she was like, oh, this is the father, EJ. And the man was like, can we talk privately? And because Holly and Johnny were there, and he said, we're all family here, you can speak. And so he says, okay, well, Nicole, I'm sorry to have to give you this information, but your baby didn't make it. And she said, say what now? And he said, the baby didn't make it. And she was like, that's not possible. My baby was healthy. He said the baby had internal injuries from the car wreck. He was like, there was a man that came in and dropped the baby off, and he said, it was your baby. And she said, yeah. Oh, so now they're like, oh, Dimitri did make it with the baby. He said, but there were internal injuries from the car wreck. And because of that, the baby didn't survive. And Nicole is like, no, 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 that the baby was in. And of course, Nicole knows, okay, so that I bought that blanket because she had just bought that blanket earlier that day, and Dimitri had wrapped the baby in that blanket. So she knows that, okay, yeah, this was my baby. My baby did make it to the hospital, and my baby passed. And so she's all crying and not believing it and not wanting to believe it, but she tells him, this, oh my gosh, this is the blanket. And the doctor says, if you have any questions, please reach out, but I'm so sorry for your loss. And he leaves. And of course, EJ and Holly, uh, and Johnny try to comfort Nicole, and Holly's hugging her mom, and EJ says, Johnny's like, "What do you want me to do?" And EJ tells him, "Just give us some time alone." And then he tells Holly, "Let's give him a few moments." And so Holly leaves, her mom, right? And so EJ is there with Nicole, and she did a really great scene, y'all. And that's why I give it a 10, because she's just in disbelief. She's like, "This could not be possible, EJ. We cannot have lost another child. There was nothing wrong with, like, I held the baby. He made it. He was strong. I was just telling Holly how strong the baby is, and her baby brother is going to be fine. And so this can't be real." But he's like, unfortunately, you know, it is. And so she breaks down, and she's crying and she's upset. She was like, EJ, we lost another baby. She's like, but before it was different, and emotional and sad scene. And so that's it with them. That's how it ended. So then while Nicole when Sloan is talking to Leo, she gets a phone call from Melinda, and she says, "I just wanted you to know that everything is has fallen into place, and they should be getting the news right about now about the baby." And so Sloan is like, "Okay," and that's it, y'all. That's how Days of Our Lives went down today. Nicole and is told she lost the baby, and Sloan and Melinda are pretty much pulling this off. And I don't really like, because yeah, I think today they tried to explain some about why Melinda is doing this, because I guess she really doesn't like EJ and feels like he is shouldn't be around children, because she talks about her own child. Because that was I saw a lot of comments yesterday like, why is Melinda doing this? And I'm not quiet as kept. I said the same thing, like, you and Sloan are friends, but y'all ain't that good of friends. And the only thing I can think about is like today when she was talking to the baby, she was like, "You miss your mom, Nicole, but Sloan's gonna be a good mother for you, and you're gonna be with your dad, Eric." And I had to give my baby up for the betterment of my baby, and I believe Sloan and Eric are good people, and you're gonna be in a better environment. So the only thing I can think of is that she keeps saying EJ is a monster, EJ is a monster. So she really feels like the baby would be better off with Eric and Sloan than EJ and Nicole. That, because it doesn't make sense why she's going to these great lengths to try to take this baby away from Nicole and EJ. But y'all tell me what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, to let me know you're here, and subscribe to the channel. Y'all tell me what you think. Be safe, be blessed, and I will see you tomorrow for an all new episode of What Happened on the Soaps Days of Our Lives edition. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.